Welcome to episode 21 of Franklin Fiber, my knitting, spinning, fiber-related podcast. I'm Julie, also known as Lovey Lamb, on Ravelry, Instagram. That's pretty much all the social media I do. So if you've been here before, welcome back. If it's your first time here, hi. How are you? It's nice to see you. Introduce yourself over in the Ravelry group. I have a Ravelry group for the podcast. It's Franklin Fiber Podcast. If you search for that on Ravelry, you'll find it. And so if you haven't watched it before, or if you've watched it a few times but never really checked it out, go over there. It's nice people. Say hi. There's a little introductions thread where you can introduce yourself, and I'd love to know who's watching. It makes me feel good. And maybe make some new friends. You can friend me over there too. Everyone loves having more friends. That was my long introduction there. Sorry. Let's get down to business. Bizwax, as my little sister used to say. So this is actually my second time recording this in the past hour. This is take 2. I just finished recording it, and it was all scattered and all over the place, and I got caught up. I got hung up on this one thing, and it took forever. Anyway. Decided to re-record, kind of like took a walk, cleansed my head, made myself a G&T with frozen grapes and some dill. They're cotton candy grapes. Have you ever had cotton candy grapes? They're really, 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 really good. They actually taste like cotton candy. So I got some at the farmer's market and I froze them. And now they're a delightful little frozen icy fruity treat. And they go well in a gin and tonic. Okay, so let's actually talk about knitting, shall we? That's why we're all here. I have been really, really good. I've been almost totally monogamous. I guess when it comes to monogamy, almost monogamous doesn't quite cut it. But, I'm trying. Really, really trying here. So let me show you my baby sweater. Yay! Hang on, sorry. There's ends everywhere and things on waist yarn, and it's a bit of a mess right now. Okay, baby sweater. Come on, lay flat. This is the seamless braided cable cardigan. It's a pay-for pattern by Christy Hills on Ravelry. It's a Ravelry download. This is the 0 to 6 month size. Has this pretty braided cable down both sides of the front pocket, and there's a button band there. There, you can see the buttonhole sort of on this side. There's an option for a broken rib collar, and that's the one that I did. You could also do a 2x2 rib, but I think this is nice. It lays flatter than 2x2 rib does. Obviously, the sleeves are on waist yarn. It's raglan shaped, seamless, as the name would imply. I think it's a nice line that raglan shaping created. So, there's different ways of doing it with different increases, and I like the way that this one looks. So I'm almost done with the body. This is out of, I have a skein, Spud & Chloe's sweater, which is a merino cotton 50-50 blend, superwash, in the color Turtle, which is really nice. It's a little bit brighter than it's coming out here. It's just a really, really nice Kelly green, and it'll be really good for a gender-neutral baby present because we do not yet know the gender of this baby. It's very soft and squishy and superwash. That's important. So yeah, as I mentioned, don't know the gender of the baby, so I just went ahead and did boys' side buttonholes. I figured that it's more normal for women to wear men's clothes than men to wear women's clothes. I don't think this baby's going to care at all, and I don't think anyone's going to notice, but I did put a little bit of thought into that, figuring out which one I should do. Maybe that's because I'm a product of a gendered society. It really doesn't matter. It's a freaking buttonhole. It's not like you button your button on the wrong way and it makes you less of a man or something. But these are the conventions that we live with. Spud & Chloe sweater. Size 6 needles. Sorry, there's ends everywhere. Size 6 Haya sharp interchangeable needles. This is my second ball. I have one more skein. And I also have my swatch. I made a big swatch out of the first ball before I cast this on. So I've got plenty of yarn floating around. And I'm also going to make a matching hat to go with it as part of this little set. And that'll be really cute. I don't have buttons yet. I have to buy them. Also, this is going to fit a human being. I'm sorry, but that's weird. There are humans that are this big. Wait, not even. That's too big. It's this big. All right, you got to put that over. That big. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Obviously, I've never had children. Anyway, it's cute. So the thing is that every stitch that I've knit on this has just made me think that's one less stitch I'm knitting on my Rhinebeck sweater. Whoa, guys. Whoa. Rhinebeck. Let's come back to that in a second, shall we? So I'm making this for my baby knits Cal as well. I have to make this. This is I mentioned this before. It's a commission that I'm doing for a friend of the family whose niece is having a baby. And it has to be done. I promised that it'd be done by the middle of the month. That's when the baby's due. So this is like priority knitting. It needs to get done, and that's why I've been pretty monogamous with it. And that's also why I started the Baby Knits Cal over in the Ravelry group. Head over there and join up. Really, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do a baby, a cabled baby cardigan or anything like that. You could just do a preemie hat. You could just do a pair of booties. It doesn't matter if it's for a baby. You could also do like a union suit. You could also do a really intricate lace Shetland square or whatever. Doesn't matter. Just has to be for a baby. So you join the group. We're doing giveaways at the end. It's going to run from, it started September 1st, but never too late to start. It'll end at the end of September, and anyone who has any finished objects will be eligible for prizes. You could enter as many times as you want. You could do 15 preemie hats and then donate them all to charity. That's definitely an option. Or keep them for yourself, whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you for it. But, you just do separate entries, and those will be separate entries for the prize. So why not do that? Over in the Ravelry group, Baby Knits Cal. So that's that. I did get on a tangent right then on, I mentioned Rhinebeck, and I just like get the flutters when I mentioned Rhinebeck because there's it's like almost a month away. Almost a month away. You want to see my Rhinebeck sweater? It would be a bit scandalous to wear at this point. This is the one half of a front. One half of the front of the Wood Hollow vest, which is a Kristen Kapoor pay-for pattern on Ravelry, and I love how it's coming out. You guys haven't seen this in a while. I haven't really looked at this in a while. I started it way back in May, and I haven't touched it in a long time. It's just like a cool grandpa vest, Like it's not a lot of shaping, kind of like baggy, but that's what I want. And I'm excited about it, but I let it go all summer because it's Cascade 220. It's on size 6s. It's a really tight cable pattern, and sweaty hands and all this stuff didn't really go together. And I thought I had all the time in the world before Rhinebeck. I was like, come on, it's the middle of summer. Rhinebeck's not till the fall. We got time. Except we don't anymore. And I really want to have a Rhinebeck sweater. I've actually never done a Rhinebeck sweater. I did wear one year actually, and that was the year when it was like 7 million degrees that you would pass out if you wore your sweater, and mine was an alpaca sweater. So I wore it for like 13 seconds out of the car, and then went back to the car and put it back in there, because I was not going to sweat my ass off for that. So I really want to have like a proper Rhinebeck sweater, and that's why I did vest. I figured vest I could warm it up if it's too cold out, and if it's hot again, then I'll have my arms free to sweat all they want. Anyway, pulling this out because I'm totally using this as motivation to finish that baby cardigan. Finish the baby cardigan. And they even look similar. It's like I'm making the same damn thing, but I want to make it for myself. Okay. Anyway, I said I was somewhat monogamous, and here's the somewhat. Halloween socks. This is the cuff of Halloween socks in my Halloween Tangerine Designs bag, which I use all year, but it's mostly appropriate now. So I'm participating in the Knit Girls Halloween Craft Along Cal, CAL Craft Along. The Knit Girls, I'm sure you know them already. Knit Girls with 3 L's. They're doing a Halloween craft along for September and October, where you can make any kind of Halloween related craft. And I've never made Halloween socks. Never ever did that. Made themed socks for myself. So I figured this was the perfect chance to do it. But September 1st was also the first day of my baby knit thing, and I actually waited to cast on until then. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna have to put that off until later, except that I totally couldn't. I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna wind the yarn into a ball. I'm not, that's not really working on it. And as I was doing that, I was like, oh, this yarn is so cool. It is opal. It's a series of self-striping colors they did that's called like Handwerk or something like that. Handwerk and Hobby or something. That's all inspired by trades, by hand, like laboring trades. Anyway, this one's called Mauer or Bricklayer, and it's gray, light gray, dark gray, and orange and reddish orange. Not an intentionally Halloween colorway, but it totally is. And like, it's cooler than just black and orange, you know what I mean? It's got, I don't know, it just looks cooler. So this is the pattern that I started out of this for my Halloween socks. This is called Traffic Islands. It's a pattern, a free pattern by Nicola W. on Ravelry. And it's just like this simple, what's that called again? Not chevron, not fan. I don't know, whatever that zigzaggy thing is called, where you're increasing and decreasing. And this one has yarn overs for increases, which gives it a really nice look. I love the way that looks. So yeah, so you get this kind of Charlie Brown chevron thing going on, which I think makes it more Halloween-y, like way more Halloween-y, you know, like jack-o'-lantern or something. And I love the way this is striping. It's really odd. There's actually some stripes that are too short, with, you know, which is designed, I mean, it's designed that way, but like, you know, this golden stripe won't actually go all the way around, won't make it to the end of the round, but I kind of like it anyway. And I like how this pattern does this thing where the, you know, like this reddish stripe is up here and then all of a sudden it's down there. Like this whole thing here is shifted down a little bit just because of the way you do the yarn overs. It's a neat pattern. Please don't ask me why there are no needles in here. It was just me being stupid, and it worked. It made it so that I could not distract myself by knitting on this anymore. And now I cannot work on this, and I have to work on my baby sweater. But it was a little bit of a misguided thing to do, because that's going to be really annoying when I want to put it back on. Whatever. There it is, being knit on size 1s. Okay, I think that's all the knitting I have. Oh no, I have one more thing. This is not a finished object, but it's an object, so I'll show it to you. I did more of these little worsted weight mitered squares. These are the ones I mentioned last week. I'm doing this out of my scraps of worsted weight, just so that I can kind of feel better about having balls of scrap worsted weight lying around. You know, it like makes me feel like I'm doing something with it, not just a hoarder, making a little rat's nest around myself to keep me warm during the apocalypse. Instead, I'm making a blanket to keep me warm during the apocalypse, which is a little less crazy. A little. Especially this theoretical blanket that's basically made up of coasters. So I'm making these mitered squares, and this is leftover Cascade Eco Duo, which I used to make that the big herringbone cowl, which is a Pearl Soho pattern I showed many, many moons ago on the show. Super soft merino alpaca single. And this is all I had left, so then I switched over to this, which is some hand-dyed alpaca. Not as soft, actually. It's another alpaca merino blend, but not nearly as soft as this one. But the result is that you get this great textural difference. And that's kind of part of what I'm excited about with this blanket, is being able to feel, you know, like wrap it around yourself and feel like cotton next to Angora, next to Shetland, next to merino. You know, like that kind of crazy quilt of scraps. And to me, like, you know, it reminds me of the way that quilting really was intended to be a way to use up scraps. So I made this one, which actually looks kind of normal. And then I made this one, which totally doesn't look normal. Let this be, all right, if anyone who doesn't understand gauge, here you go. Let me help you out. This is all on a size 8. This is actually the very first usable hand spun I ever made. I divided this was free yarn, or free roving rather, free Falkland roving that came with my first spindle. And I don't remember, I think it's Spunky Eclectic actually. I think that's what it is. It was, like I said, Falkland. Oh, gotta plug in my computer. Sorry, showing you my boobs. Okay, there we go. So I split it into half, and then the first try that I did is, I think I have, no, I don't have it anymore. It's like this big, chunky, it's basically pencil roving. I ended up not putting any twist into it. So I've got pencil roving. And then the second time around, I like watched a different YouTube video than the first one, which had basically just said like, you just split it up and then you twist it and you're done. Congratulations. And then I watched another YouTube video that was actually informative and explained how to draft. And then I got also Respect the Spindle, that book by I don't remember her name. It's called Respect the Spindle. I'll link to it. And that explained like drafting and how to spin a spindle. So this is what I made with the second half of the fiber. And here's it. I had it in a ball because I made a hat out of it that I really, actually it's a great hat. I like this hat. But fiber in my mouth. So I had what was left of the ball and I'd thrown it into a bag with the rest of my scraps. So I pulled it out. And here you go, right? That's a worsted weight. It's not like super great. It's thick and thin, obviously. It's not very well plied, very loosely plied, but it works. So I started knitting this garter stitch mitered square, and as I'm going, it's like getting thicker and thicker until I get to the end, and it's like this. Like, oh my God, seriously. This is how, I guess I was going back in time to where, here's like my beginning spinning attempt, and here's at the end of my spinning attempt, which shows you, like, you get better. But yeah, it's basically just like unspun roving with a very thin wrap unintentionally. This would be cool if I meant to do it, but it's not what I meant to do. So, and then I ran out of that, and I picked up another ball out of that bag of scraps, and it was this, which is Debbie Stoller Bamboo U. And it's a bamboo wool blend. It's actually pretty nice. You used to be able to get it at like Michael's and places like that, but I think they stopped making it, which is a shame because it's actually a pretty nice wool. I mean, pretty nice yarn. But it is a much different gauge than especially the end of this part. And so what I ended up with was like, oh, it kind of looks like an acorn, right? Here's the cap, and there's the nut, maybe. I think it's fine. I mean, if I do put this into a blanket, I can, it'll be seamed all along the edge and kind of maybe stretch it out a little bit. The textural difference will be really crazy. This one probably won't make it into that blanket, but it's funny. It's funny to look at. Yeah, here's my blanket, guys. What do you think? Maybe. Okay. Stop rambling, Julie. Have some more to drink. Okay. So I talked about that. I talked about Rhinebeck. Oh, spinning. I didn't do any spinning this week. Shocker of the century. Still trying to get over the, during the summer I didn't really spin, and now I'm just like can't get back into it. And especially because I have my deadline knitting, I just kind of haven't pulled that out yet. But I do want to get the Crown Mountain Farms Walpurgis Falkland that I'm spinning. I showed you I did the first 4 ounces, and now I'm working still on the second 4. And I do want to get that done because I want to join, if you watch Malia, who has the Yarn Raising podcast, she's great. I really like watching her podcast. And she's going to be starting in October a new to you spin along. So it's not like any specific fiber or any specific technique, or a company or anything like that. It's just spin something that's new to you. And I got, like a month or 2 ago, these silk hankies from a store out in New Hope, Pennsylvania by Chasing Rainbows Dye Works. And I really want to spin them. They're really pretty. You can see they're blue and green. They're really lovely. So that has to get on my wheel at the beginning of October. So that's another, you know, it'll kind of hopefully inspire me to get on the wheel over there. Okay, so that's it for the fiber. Sorry, there's like wolves, a pack of wolves next door, and I guess they're going crazy right now. They'll cool off. Okay, so that's it for this fiber stuff that I've done. I did want to mention a couple of things that are fiber related. One is the fact that, come on iPad, cooperate. The fact that Brooklyn Tweed has come out with their latest, let's turn this brightness down. It's come up with the latest BT knitwear lookbook, and it's beautiful. It's more than just a pattern booklet or just a lookbook. It is like a book of its own. It's 146 pages long. I kid you not. So what you can expect in this are traditional, it's a fisherman sweater is the theme of the whole collection. And that's Ganseys and Aran style sweaters. So you can expect to see modern interpretations of the classic Aran style or the classic Gansey style in sweaters and in scarves, wraps, and hats. I think there's only 2 hats. Anyway, maybe I'll show you just a couple. And also multiple views of each pattern, beautiful location shots. This was all, it's called Sea Change. Can you see that? Inspired by fisherman sweaters. And they did all of the location photography for this in Red Hook, Brooklyn, which is a neighborhood in Brooklyn, a little over a mile south of the Brooklyn Bridge on the west side there on the coast. And it was a shipping port. It was a major shipping port. It's actually the neighborhood that I lived in when I lived in Brooklyn. So it was really, really special to look through it and see all the photos of that neighborhood. And also just kind of be reminded of really what an inspirational place that was to be in. Like, I mean, seriously, you'd just be like walking around, and I mean, this would happen all the time. I would just be walking down the street and be like, oh my God, I just had a great idea for a shawl pattern. Or, oh my God, I just had the most brilliant idea for a hat. And like, I wouldn't actually execute them because I'm not Jared Flood. Like, I would try and fail, but it was a really inspirational place. So I'll just quickly show you a couple of these examples of what you can see in here. There's this beautiful sweater, which is called Hawser, Jared Flood. It's out of Shelter, Brooklyn Tweed's worsted weight. It's this pretty A-line with that nice flat, fat cable, which is a really nice detail. And narrow arms to give it a little bit more structure, so it's not just a big flouncy thing. He's really, like, Jared Flood and the designers that he works with are really thoughtful in that way, pushing the boundaries of modern garment design while still ending up with something that has a classic tailored feel and is flattering, which is, you know, that's difficult. A lot of the pieces in here, including that sweater I just showed you, are seamed. That one's knit in the round to the armholes and then worked back and forth on the front and the back, and then the sleeves are set in. And that's actually a lot of sweaters in here are like that, which is like, you know, a little more difficult, but it does give you a much more structured garment at the end of it. So you can see things like, you know, lots of shots. That's a scarf pattern. And then in between that will be some neighborhood shots, you know, a couple of pages of that. And then you get to the next sweater. This one's great. God, I love this one. Really, really classy looking while still looking modern and fashionable. That one actually has some crochet. Those baubles. I can talk. Are crochet according to the description. And that's the other thing. It's the way this is written. There's a long description of each pattern amidst. Come on. There we go. Amidst the various shots of that pattern. But all of the actual pattern information is at the back, which is a little bit annoying. So like for this one, I can look at, if my iPad will let me, that one's the Back Bay sweater by Jared Flood. I can read all about, you know, his style of it, like what, you know, a little bit of how it's constructed, but also about like how you'd wear it and things like that. And I can look at these pretty pictures, but if I want to see what, how many skeins I need or what sizes it comes in, I have to go from page 21 to 98, which is a little hard. I mean, I can't bookmark. This is a PDF. I can't like put my finger in the page that I'm at and flip to the back and then come back. So that's a little bit, I'm nitpicking. It's a little annoying. But when you do go to those full pattern details, it's really, they do a nice job of giving you all the information you'd want before you buy it. They show you the garment on a rack, on a hanger, and then they give you finished dimensions and sizes, the suggested ease, the ease that it's shown with on the model, and like this one, intended ease 2 to 4 inches. Sample is sample shown is size 37 1/4 with 3 1/4 inches of ease on the model, so that you can see, you can really get a good sense of what you should be knitting at. Ease, of course, I'm sure you know this already. Ease is the amount of space between your body and the garment itself. Like this shirt has a lot of positive ease. So, if you were a size 35 and you wanted something that had 3 inches of positive ease, then you would knit a size 38. And those 3 inches would be 1.5 inches on one side, 1.5 inches on the other when you wore it. So it'd be a little bulky. And if you had negative ease, that would mean that it was stretching out over your dimensions. Sorry, I'm doing some weird contortions right now. So yeah, and he tells you that's, now he'll give you the information about how many skeins, in what color, what the gauge is, and then small details about the design, how it's constructed, body and sleeves worked in the round to the underarm, then split and work back and forth, just like that other one. Set in sleeves, crew neck, and a schematic. So it's a really beautiful collection. And then, that was something else I liked about this, hang on page, right in the middle of the collection. So the first half of the collection is a little bit more traditional, a little bit more like classic cuts, using those traditional styles, and then the second half is more modern, contemporary silhouettes, different, like kind of taking a little bit more out of the box with the interpretations of Aran sweaters or Gansey designs, and more trendy, a little bit more modern. But dividing the book in half is this great little spread on the history of Red Hook, Brooklyn, about the place itself. So they have an old map, an old aerial view of Red Hook, and then a few paragraphs of history describing what it's like now, talking about Sandy, Hurricane Sandy, a few years ago, really devastated the area, and then these great location photos, more historical photos. And it's a little bit sensationalized, I'm not going to lie. It makes it sound like it's a wasteland. It's really not. There are people who live there and who have lived there, and there are still industries there, and there is still a port there. But it is correct that it's not exactly the thriving place that it used to be, and it does kind of have the feel of a ruin. But let me just remind you that it's not a ruin. There are lots of people who live there, and there are like housing projects of people who live there. But they also talk about the fact that the only way you can get in and out of Manhattan from there is using the IKEA ferry. There's an IKEA there, and they run a free ferry. But some great photography. And that's the history, the museum, the Red Hook Maritime Museum. It's on a barge. And then this is the second section. So basically, what I wanted to say was definitely go to Ravelry, definitely go there to check out what this collection is about and queue things. I've already done that. It's like all in my queue. But also go and check out the lookbook itself, because it does have these extras. It has those beautiful scenic shots that really are inspirational and give you a feel for the designs and the design process that went into it. And there are these bits of history that are thrown in there, and the introduction, and the schematics. I'm not sure if they're on Ravelry. I don't think they are. So check it out. It's a good read, and it really is. It feels like a read. It was almost like getting an issue of Interweave or something like that. So that's what I wanted to show you about that. What else? I wanted to talk about really quickly this really cool place that I went to on Sunday. So my husband and I went down to Atlantic City. We live in Asbury Park, which is Central Coast, and Atlantic City is about maybe an hour and change south on the Jersey coast. And we went there because there was a candy and chocolate trade show, the Philadelphia Candy and Confectioners Trade Show or something like that, which we knew a woman from our area who was setting up that. She's a vendor. And she was saying that it might be a good fit for us because my husband and I do run we have a chocolate importing business in addition to many other businesses. As I like to say, many streams make a river. So it's based in Guatemala, but we import this really wonderful chocolate. Diego's chocolate is what it's called, and it's been getting more successful in the last few months. And so our friends suggested that we look at this trade show as a possible place to set up in the winter when they have the next one. So we went down there, and we got some great ideas. There were some like packaging people set up there, and it was really helpful in that way. But we also got a ton of free chocolate samples and free candy samples, which was awesome. Oh my God. If you were ever anywhere near a chocolate and candy trade show, figure out a way to finagle your way in there, because it's just a room full of people who have suddenly been given the opportunity to have potential retailers taste their wares, because that's the problem, right? You could send out all the emails you want, you could have a great website, you could have great packaging design, but with food, you need people to try it, you know? I mean, like, the packaging is great, but if I don't know it's delicious, I'm not gonna buy it. And if I have to buy it to know it's delicious, then I probably won't. So at these trade shows, you've got all of these candy men and women hawking their candy and just being like, here, do you want a lollipop? Take a lollipop. Or like, here, have some fudge. Or, oh, chocolate covered Oreos. Take a chocolate covered Oreo. And it's like being in Willy Wonka's magical chocolate factory and just having people force chocolate on you. It was awesome and a bit of a sugar rush. And there was some hilarious stuff. Like, I saved this. There was a lady who worked for like a large chocolate supplier, and they had these, which I'm sorry, maybe my mind's not in the gutter, but a deviant mind or something. But if you've ever lived in an urban area, you know what a dime bag looks like. A dime bag being, for those of you who did not have really bad friends or have never lived in a place where drugs are a problem, that's what they sell drugs in on the street. And so this lady was just like, there was at one point chocolate chips in here, little samples of milk chocolate. And the lady's like, here, take some, it's free. And all I could think is like, here, kid, the first one's free. And it's even called Appalachian Gold. That was the name of this chocolate, and it says it on there, Appalachian Gold, which to me does not sound like a chocolate. That sounds like a strain of marijuana. And I was like, what is in your chocolate? What are you giving me? But I ate it, and it was really good. And it satisfied my munchies. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so watch it. They hooked me. So hilarious things like that. But anyway, so we left Atlantic City after the trade show, after we were stuffed with chocolate. We left there and decided that instead of taking the highway home, we would take local roads. And we stopped in a town called Tuckerton, which I had looked up on the internet, and it was their classic or antique boat show weekend. Tuckerton is a little town just north of Atlantic City on the ocean. It's Tuckerton Seaport, or Tuckerton Historic Seaport, or something like that. And it's kind of like it's a museum and a little recreated, not quite a recreated village, but just like a historic village, where they have a folk life center, where they have a focus on preserving crafts of the region, which I think is great. And there are some really interesting crafts down there, it turns out. My friend Seashore Sharon on Ravelry, she'd already told me she took basket weaving classes in Tuckerton, and she was raving about it. And I kept saying, oh, I want to go with you, but like, Tuckerton's far, and I don't know, I was kind of like, well, yeah, eventually, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'm dying to go back there now. I met the woman who does the basket weaving. Her name is Mary May, and I got to watch as she was making a basket. She made it look really easy, and she was really friendly. And she's doing a class in October, but it's the same weekend as Rhinebeck, it turns out. So I think she does another one in November. Maybe I'll go for that one. So I got to meet her and watch her weave baskets, and then they also have a surfboard museum. Evidently, South Jersey, especially the Tuckerton area, has a long history of surfing, of surf culture, and surfboard making especially. They, like the first surfer in the area was in like the 1930s or something, which is crazy because that's right at the beginning of surf culture in America, and it's weird to think that it came to New Jersey that quickly. But it did. There's a whole, you can learn the whole history of it if you go there, or if you look on the internet, I guess. But it was really cool. They had a whole museum of different surfboards that were made in the like New Jersey, Tuckerton area. And they even had some wooden ironing board tops, like ironing board table tops that people would use as surfboards way back in the beginning, because there was nobody making surfboards, and they would just sort of look at pictures or go to a demonstration and see someone surfing and just found something that kind of looked like a surfboard, which was this long wooden, tabletop with a nose that came to a point, and they would use that as a surfboard. And it was, I guess, probably more like a boogie board. I don't know if you could stand up on it without just flying out from under you. But yeah, they had ones that had some family member kept that their grandfather used as a surfboard, which is pretty neat. And there's a guy there who builds surfboards. He builds wooden surfboards, and you can take a class with him. And I'm dying to do that. That's awesome. And then I met another guy, this awesome old guy. He's not even that old. He acts like he's 40, but he said that he was 70, which I couldn't believe, because he was just, honestly, he was more active than I am. He built wooden roller coasters for 40 years. His father was a boat builder, though, in Tuckerton, and then he came back to it later in life, and now he builds the local types of boats. There's these local little duck hunting sailboats and a little workhorse motorboat that's made out of plywood that were developed in Tuckerton. And so he makes those, the traditional boats. And you could take a class with him, and you could build your own boat. He said it was 12 hours, start to finish. One day, you go home with your own boat. Come on. I'm just this place is the coolest place. I'm dying to go there. So that was a great weekend. It was just a great day, I guess. And then we kept going home from there on the local roads, and we stopped at a Stewart's, which is a great little roadside kind of diner, like a drive-in diner type place where you can actually sit in your car and they'll serve you in your car. There's a couple of them still left in New Jersey, and we found one that was right on the water, which was lovely. And they have great root beer and great floats. Get a brown cow, vanilla ice cream, root beer, die, and go to heaven. And then we just kept going up the coast, and it was lovely. It was a great day. But it really kind of invigorated my love for craft in America. And it was that really, the sort of that heart and soul of America really is in crafting. And everywhere you go, no matter where it is, it could be in a city or it could be down in some little coastal town, but there are traditional crafts in those places, and there are probably still people doing those crafts. And if we don't value those crafts, we might lose them. And so it reminds me of why I do things like spin, why I do things like knit, and what a beautiful thing the internet has been for that. Because in my life, I didn't know anyone who had maintained these kinds of crafts. I'm sure that people I knew, their grandparents or great-grandparents might have knitted or spun or crocheted or, woven or done these kinds of traditional crafts. But by the time I came along, none of us knew how to do that. That wasn't part of our lives anymore. And so if something like the internet didn't exist, it would be really difficult for me to get an entrance into that history and that craft from that perspective. So that kind of went on a weird tangent right there. But I just wanted to give a little shout out to that, because there is a wonderful preservation movement in effect. In places like Tuckerton, literally, where they're, paying people to continue their craft, but also because of things like the internet and people who are really dedicated and who share freely what they do. It's a beautiful thing, and it's giving a shout out to everyone out there who is free with their knowledge, and who is, dedicated to continuing these kinds of crafts. And so now I gotta learn basket weaving and surfboard making and boat building, but like that's cool, I'm fine picking up more crafts. First I gotta finish that baby sweater. Okay, I've talked for long enough and I've ranted for long enough. So just one more time I'm gonna say thank you everyone for watching. And head over to the podcast group. That's what I was going to say. Head over to the Ravelry group, Franklin Fiber. Join up. If you've already joined up, say hi. If you've already said hi, then I don't know. That's cool. Thank you. Join the Baby Knits Cow. Everyone. So that's it. Till next week. Have a great last days of summer. It's winding down, but it's still here, so enjoy it while it's here. And yeah, until next time, stay crafty. Bye.